So there's a story that blew up online that I want to talk about with everybody here. This is in The Hill. Alabama doctor tells his unvaccinated patients he won't see them anymore. The physician said that his decision prompted 3 patients to ask where they could get their vaccine. So, there's actually been a number of stories like this that have come out recently. There was one that was misleading where people said, oh, doctors walked off the job and said we're not treating unvaccinated patients anymore. So they made it seem like it was almost like a strike where they're like, we're refusing to treat the unvaccinated patients. Turns out that wasn't true. It was the end of their shift, and they went out and gave a press conference and said, guys, get vaccinated. This is crazy. This is all preventable. We're in here treating people, and if you get vaccinated, it's much less likely we'll have the surge. We'll have numbers that are this high. We'll have people who need to be hospitalized and whatnot. So right-wing media sort of twisted that, and it wasn't true. Because one of those things I think is you should condemn the idea of, well, I'm not going to treat unvaccinated patients anymore. You took the Hippocratic Oath. You got to help these people, of course. There's no doubt about it. So that would be condemnable, but that's not what happened. They walked out at the end of their shift and said, get vaccinated, which I agree with and makes sense. So to this Alabama doctor, now, you need to understand this person is just a physician. So not an emergency room person, not in an ICU. And they're just saying, hey, find another doctor because I don't want to see any of my patients die. I've already seen some of my patients die, and it was preventable. If they got vaccinated, they probably wouldn't have died. Almost certainly wouldn't have died. So they're just saying, in my practice, I don't want to see any unvaccinated people. And so the reason why the doctor is doing it, and they say this, is they want to spur their people to get vaccinated. They want to let them know, hey, this is serious. I'm not messing around. You have to get vaccinated. So the intent, I think, is pure. In terms of the actual idea behind it, I don't know. I'm torn on it. And in fact, I lean against it. Because, I don't know, man. Maybe in some instances, shame as a tactic works. Or drawing hard lines and being Mr. Tough Guy works. But I think in other instances, it can be counterproductive. And it doesn't work. So if at the end of the day, now he says, hey, 3 patients asked where they could get their vaccine. So I guess the argument is, see, it's literally working. But maybe there are ways to get it done where you're not also threatening to cut off ties with the unvaccinated. Because I don't want to give them a victim complex. I just want them to understand that they're incorrect and that it's the right thing to do and it's good for them. And unfortunately, with a lot of them, if you give them this victim complex, then they become more emboldened in their take. And we've already seen it. There's so many unvaccinated folks who are playing the victim, and that's why also when it comes to and this is a much longer conversation that we could have at another time. This isn't really for this segment, but when it comes to the idea of like a vaccine mandate, like let's say a federal government vaccine mandate for all Americans. I wouldn't be in favor of that because I think that goes too far. And I don't think the government should just be able to force you to put some shit in your body. Because, again, why would you trust the government? They've done so many horrendous things. They've lied so many times. It seems authoritarian and too much of an overreach. But what I like is the idea of a soft mandate. So, in other words, what's an example of a soft mandate? We already do it. We already do it when you go to school. You want your kids to go to school? You want your kids to go to public school? They got to get vaccinated for measles, mumps, rubella, polio, smallpox, and a whole bunch of them. A plethora of different illnesses. And so that's like a soft mandate. So in other words, you don't have to get vaccinated, but your kid will have to be homeschooled or something like that, So it's a way to try to make it so that in society, it just functions a lot smoother if you do the right thing. So you still can object and say, this is against my ideology or against my religion or I don't believe in it or whatever. You can still object, but okay, there are just some consequences to that. And I think the consequences need to be fair, need to be reasonable. Like whatever kind of punishment we get here needs to fit the crime. And if the crime is, I'm just really wrong on this issue and really uneducated and I'm putting other people in danger or myself in danger too by doing this, okay, well then just make it a little bit of a pain in the ass for them. I don't want them to have to force to get it in their arm, but just make them think twice about it and make them go, maybe this is the right thing to do. And so I would also do an education campaign, and the same way there were the anti-smoking ads in like the 90s and 2000s. Like you should do some sort of educational campaign for this too. Now, granted, you could say, well, the source sucks, so why would I trust the source? But if you do them right, if you do the ads right, if you make the ads convincing, if you have the right people doing it with the right message, then it could work. It could absolutely work, especially if you hammer it over and over and over. What are we learning right now with the media and how they're harping away on the Afghanistan withdrawal and how terrible it is? We're learning that the propaganda works. So you could do propaganda for a good cause, you could do propaganda for the right cause, and you could run vaccine ads and maybe get people to do it that way. But I'm not a big fan of this whole, like, you know, tough guy, I'm not going to see you anymore as a doctor. No, do no harm. And even though it's a lower level than an ICU doctor or emergency room or whatever, I still think this might do harm. So, not really. I get the intent I'm with. The execution and the idea, I'm not. I think there are better ways to get the same result, which is more people vaccinated and more people wanting to be vaccinated.